Hey, are you looking to improve your demon gameplay in Doom Eternal Battle Mode and looking for tips on how to do so? Well, that is exactly what we are covering in this video today. So you want to make sure you hang around for the entirety of the video, because at the end I will be discussing a bonus tip that you don't want to miss. So make sure you stay tuned till that. Hey, all you amazing, wonderful, beautiful people out there. I wanted to make sure that you are aware before we get into the video is that if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell, ding ding, so you guys can be up to date when I upload more videos like this. That way I can continue to help you improve your gameplay while also providing you with some entertaining gaming content. And while you're at it, I would greatly appreciate it if you did learn something from this video and you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, that you would Doomslayer smash that like button and let me know what you think in the comments below. Without further ado, let's get into the video, guys. All right, well, we're going to kick things off with an important first tip, and that is be cautious of taking damage at the beginning of the round from long-range weapons by the Slayer. Now, the two long-range weapons I'm referencing here are the heavy cannon with the precision bolt attachment and the ballista. Both of these weapons can provide a huge amount of damage right off the start of the round, and on the maps, you're pretty open to taking damage at the very beginning. So you want to be really cautious about that. And my recommendation on how to avoid taking that damage right off the start of the round is kind of maneuver your way into an area that it's hard for the Doomslayer to get to you quickly and or get a line of sight on you. While also, if you're playing with like the Archvile, you can use the fire wall to block that damage. Or if you're using the Makibus, just pop your smoke bomb down and it'll help limit the Slayer's line of sight on you. So that way you can easily try to avoid some of that damage right off the beginning of the round, which will ultimately allow you to last longer in the match and get the upper hand on the Slayer. All right, so the second tip kind of plays into the first tip, and that is utilizing the map's cover that it provides to you, and that means using the walls, using all the different elements that the maps have on them. I won't go into detail of every single one because that'll take forever, but use those to your advantage. And when you're in sticky situations and you're taking a lot of damage from the Slayer and you have the ability to get away quickly, kind of dash your way and be strategic about your movement around corners, around walls and stuff, and it'll just allow you to break the line of sight with the Slayer, so that way he can't continue to provide damage to you and give you a little bit of a gap to kind of escape and re-heal a little bit or get yourself in a better situation. So it's extremely important to utilize the cover around the map to your advantage, especially to a Slayer that is pretty experienced at the game. All right, so on to the third tip, which is using the action sets in the game. Now, each demon has two different action sets, where the first one being the aggressive action set, the one that you want to use if you want to play really aggressively, and then the second one being the defensive action set. Now, the difference between them, all of the different sets per demon have different abilities that you can utilize, but the common thing between them all is either you get a hazard zone or you get a healing zone. Now, the reason these are important, the hazard zone does 15 damage per tick, and if you're able to trap the Slayer in it, it does a lot of damage. But the only problem with the hazard zone is that if you happen to take a lot of damage from the Slayer, your only way of healing yourself is if one of you or your other demon partner have a healing zone or have the ability to team heal. So it is extremely important to be able to heal yourself, especially against the Slayer, because he can dish out so much damage really quickly. And with the Slayer, he has the ability to gather health and resources from the NPC demons around the map. So it's extremely important, in my opinion, that you go with the more defensive set, because it gives you that ability to be able to heal in the heat of the battle, and which will ultimately allow you to last longer in the fights and give you a slight upper hand when it comes to certain battles, because you can block the Slayer's loot, but he can't block you from healing. He can only damage you while you're in the healing zone, which can be a negative, but ultimately, if you use the healing zone strategically and make it difficult for the Slayer to get to you while you're healing, it gives you a huge advantage, in my opinion, on the Slayer in that aspect. The hazard zone's good too, and if you're an aggressive player and that's how you like to play, there's nothing wrong with that. I just recommend you or your demon partner have the healing zone or the defensive action set equips. That way you do have the healing zones. That way you can re-heal, especially if one of you respawns in the middle of the fight with a half your health. It's important to be able to heal up. So that is my recommendation when it comes to action sets. All right, so tip number 4 is really listen for prime loot blocking opportunities. And these are when the Slayer goes into a chainsaw animation to chainsaw a zombie or whoever it may be. It's important to block him at that time because he can get health and ammo from that chainsaw kill. So you want to be able to block that. But when it comes to loot blocking, you want to try. Now, this is difficult, but you want to try to be able to communicate with your teammate on who uses the loot block when. And the best way to do that is determine who uses it first and then who uses it second. Now, this is difficult because a lot of the times if you do join in like a quick play match, you'll get teamed with somebody you don't know and you don't have comms with them, which there is chat. You can use that. That is an option, but it's best, in my opinion, from my experience, is to kind of, if you hear the animation occurring, just pause for just a slight second, not too long because you don't want the Slayer to be able to obtain the loot, but just long enough to see if like maybe your demon teammate like presses the loot block immediately. If they don't, then you should press it. But my best recommendation is try to communicate with them on who does the loot blocking first and figure it out that way, because ultimately that'll be the most effective strategy. But if you're able to time your loot blocks at the prime opportunities, like when the Slayer goes to get health or chainsaws or he glory kills, whatever he may be doing to try to get health or loot, if you block that loot, especially in the heat of a fight and the Slayer's low on health, that can allow you to get the upper hand on him. And it's extremely important. And it's how I've learned to win most of my matches playing as a demon, is to block the Slayer's loot at the prime opportunities. Not necessarily at the beginning of the match, but more of like when the Slayer is low on health and he's panicking trying to get more health. That is the prime opportunity, in my opinion, to block his loot and then be really aggressive in your playstyle to take him out really quickly. So when it comes to loot blocking, make sure you be strategic with it and use it as much as you can, but don't overuse it. All right, so tip number 5 is being precise with your movement around the map while you're in the middle of the match. So what I mean by this is when you're in sticky situations, and especially if your fellow Slayer or fellow demon, not Slayer, but your fellow demon has died, it is extremely important for you to survive. And a great way of doing that is blocking the Slayer's lines of sight on you. And you can do this by being precise with your movement and being able, especially with demons that have the dash capability or with the Archvile, the teleporting capability, you're able to maneuver around the map and avoid the lines of sight with the Slayer, which will give you time to let your teammate revive or let you heal or your teammate heal. It's really important that you're precise with these movements because you don't want to accidentally like dash into a wall. So you want to make sure you dash correctly, either around corners, around walls, whatever it may be. So it's important for you to understand how the movement of your demon works and using that to your best ability to avoid being damaged by the Slayer. That's when it's most important to be precise with your movements. So I highly recommend that you take the time to learn how your demon moves around the map and how you can use your maneuverability to your advantage. All right, so tip number 6 is using the NPC demons as a compass to the Slayer. So throughout the match, and if you've played multiple matches of battle mode, you've probably realized there's times where you can't see the Slayer's outline and he's invisible to you unless you see him. So at these times, the NPC demons still track the Slayer. So if you focus on watching the NPC demons in this time, they will show you exactly where the Slayer, or a relative general area of where the Slayer is. And a good one to really watch is the Achnotron or Arachnotron, however you say it. But with that being such a big demon and with the cannon on the back of that demon, it's so easy to see where that demon's pointing. So I highly recommend that when you're in these fights and the Slayer happens to disappear for a second or so, use the demons around the map to point you to his location. And that can give you an upper hand on where the Slayer is, because the Slayer doesn't have that capability if he can't see you. He has to go around and try to find you. So you kind of have the upper hand when it comes to that aspect of battle mode. All right, so on to tip number 7, which is analyze the Slayer's patterns and figure out how you can cut him off in the middle of matches, especially with certain abilities such as the firewall when it comes to the Archvile. So almost all Slayer players have their specific pattern that they like to follow and specific weapons they like to use. So if you can analyze the Slayer's patterns and figure out how they are playing, and it could take you the first round of the match to figure out how the Slayer's playing and kind of the patterns they like to follow. But once you figure that out, you can figure out ways to cut the Slayer off and break his pattern, causing them to ultimately make mistakes because they're doing something they aren't used to, which is extremely important for you as a demon because it gives you the opportunity to take advantage of those moments. So make sure in those matches that you analyze how the Slayer is playing, which routes they like to take around the map, which weapons they like to use, and you can use that information to your advantage if you understand how they like to play. All right, so tip number 8 is be careful on how you shoot your weapons in Doom Eternal. So this is important because you can actually damage yourself from your own weapons. And especially when it comes to like the Mancubus or the Revenant with the explosive shots. With the Mancubus, it'd be the cannons, but for the Revenant, it's your rockets. You can actually damage yourself with those explosions from those weapons. So you want to be careful that when you're shooting at the Slayer, you aren't hitting the wall right next to you. Because I have done this plenty of times and I've actually killed myself because I caused damage to myself not paying attention to where my shots were hitting. So it's extremely important that it'll take time for you to get used to how this works per demon, but I recommend you doing this because it'll ultimately allow you to lose less health, and it'll allow you to it'll also help you learn the proper way to shoot your weapon and how like your kind of how far out past cover you need to be able to shoot your weapon without hitting the cover. So it's really important to do that when it comes to battle mode. All right, so tip number 9 and the final tip is utilize NPC demon spawns. Now I know this is a pretty basic tip, but it's extremely important for you to utilize these demon spawns, and a lot of people forget about them. Now, the NPC demons, like I stated earlier, are an easy way to point you towards the direction of the Slayer, but they're also a great distraction for the Slayer, and they'll constantly keep him on the move because they will always be chasing him, trying to hunt him down. So, the NPC demons, while yes, they don't provide nearly as much damage to the Slayer as you can do as a player demon, but they ultimately are just another way for you to try to take advantage of the match. And with these NPC demons, they do have a downfall, though, that people may not be aware of. And it comes to when you spawn them, if you spawn them and the Slayer moves, and then you try to respawn that demon near the Slayer, the previous demon you spawned will die. But when it dies, it'll drop loot that the Slayer can grab if you don't hit him with a loot block. So you want to be cautious of that, especially if your demons are close to the Slayer. And at the bottom where all your abilities are shown, it'll show you the health that is remaining with your NPC demons. So if they get low on health, it may be time for you to spawn a new one. But overall, the NPC demons, yes, they may not be super effective at damaging the Slayer, but ultimately they're still an effective tool that you need to use in battle mode. All right, so before we get into the bonus tip, thank you for staying till this part of the video. And if you have enjoyed this video and you've learned something new, make sure you, Doomslayer, smash that like button and hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell, ding ding, so that way you guys can be up to date when my next videos go live. And that way I can continue to help you improve your gameplay while also providing you some entertaining gaming content. But for the bonus tip, my bonus tip is I highly recommend you learn how each demon plays. Now, I won't go into detail in this video on that, but if you hit the card up here in the corner, I have an entire playlist of tips and tricks for Doom Eternal, and I'm constantly adding new videos to it, and I have multiple videos in there for specific tips and tricks per demon. So make sure you go check that out because I provide more in-depth, detailed information per demon, and I also have a Slayer one as well that will help you improve your gameplay for Doom Eternal. But like always, guys, I hope you did enjoy, and I hope to see you next time. But do good, do have fun, and do be kind. We'll see you guys later. Peace.